I welcome you for the lecture 21, that is introduction to organic crop management. So, in this lecture we will be discussing about the crop management practices, that is crop production technology and using the way of organic. So, especially for this lecture introductions, where we will be discussing about the land preparations, how you can prepare land for the organic farming and the planting techniques for organic farming and nutrient management. So, this will be basics, maybe this is very generally followed for many crops, especially for the field crops, and when you go for the next lectures we will discuss crop specific organic management, that means your the climatic requirement for specific crops. This is the planting technique for crop specific and also the nutrients and the management and plant protection measure. So, coming to this lecture, land preparations, if you think of land preparation in organic farming, especially tillage. So, as we have discussed in earlier lectures, we will follow for the conservation tillage, this double mulch tillage, minimum tillage or zero tillage practices are for the organic farming, because it enhances soil fertility, it restores the soil carbon, helps in carbon sequestration, and also increases the infiltration of rainwater in soils, that protect the soil from the erosions, either the wind erosions or the water erosions. So, by doing so, this practice of the conservation tillage or the zero tillage or the minimum tillage technique, that is for organic farming. So, this tillage operation is confined to areas where the crop is being planted, especially the row zone tillage, and only tillage operation is performed only the rows where the crop has to be planted, as shown in the pictures. You can see these are the areas where the crop is to be planted, where the tillage operation is done, but the inter row areas where the planting is not to be performed, that is left as fallow, and the stubbles are also left on the soil surface, the inter row zone areas. And through this the soil environment is less disturbed, thus maintaining the soil flora and the fauna, and this provides the proper drainage, proper root movement, but so that you can take for the better water and nutrient uptakes, and also that provides proper aerations for the roots. So, this if you go for the planting technique. So, for this organic farming, we usually recommend go for the broad bed and furrow system of planting. So, there are region for flat bed plantings, and the broad bed furrow is one of the suitable technology, the most technology for farming systems, not only organic farming, any farming system we should go for the broad bed and furrow system. So, I will discuss why, what the advantage, because the bed width should be, as you have see here, bed width may be around 1.5 to 2 meter, and this is shown in picture, it was 180 centimeter the bed width, and this is a broad bed, and this is the followed by a furrow, and the furrow width is around 45 centimeter and depth is 20 centimeter. The purpose of making the broad bed and furrow that it controls soil erosions, can be checked either through water, and also having a furrow here, this increases the infiltration of water into soils, especially for the dry land farming, dry areas also. So, this can serve as a in situ water conservations, and can recharge water recharge, otherwise there could be runoff loss. And this is a having furrow or having a gap, especially the gap after the bed of 1.5 to 2 meter, having a gap around 45 centimeters or the 60 centimeter the furrow width. So, that also makes aerations, the movement of air. So, the crop can get the better aerations, and also that helps in the better interceptions of the solar radiations. So, this helps in the improvement in the increase in crop yield. So, besides having this furrow, also having the better aerations and the better interception of the solar radiations, that also minimizes the incidence of many pests and diseases. So, as you see in the picture is a broad bed and furrow. So, this crop is grown on 4 rows in the bed, followed by the furrow systems, again the 4 rows in the bed, followed by the furrow. Likewise, you see the maize crop you are growing, the maize crop you have the bed spacing 75 centimeter, followed by the furrow of 60 centimeter. Similarly, for other crops can be grown. I can show you how it is done for the maize crop, having a broad bed and the furrow systems. So, if you make a broad bed followed by furrow, and if you are growing maize crop, maize row crops and the wider spacing crops. So, the maize plant two rows of maize, and the spacing between the maize row, this is around 75 centimeter. And this one, the spacing between this furrow width, this is 60 centimeter. And this spacing between the furrow and the first row, this is around 7.5 centimeter. So, in this case, if you use the spacing between this furrow and this furrow, this spacing, this is 75 centimeter in the between the two rows of maize, and 7.5 in both the sides, 7.5 into 2, that is 15 centimeter. 7.5 centimeter this side, also 7.5 centimeter this side, 15 centimeter, and 60 centimeter is your the furrow spacing. If you take this furrow also, half from this side and half from this side, that becomes 60, and this becomes total 90 plus 60, 150 centimeter. So, this becomes 150 centimeter from this to this, and as you see the spacing also between the two rows of maize, you can see. So, if you have another row of maize like this side, another row of maize seed, maize plant, this will have also 7.5 centimeter, and this is your 60 centimeter plus this is 7.5 centimeter, that becomes also 75 centimeter, 60 plus 15, that becomes 75 centimeter. So, having a furrow after two rows of maize crops, and this supports irrigation, of course, by you can provide irrigation in the furrow area. So, that there should be horizontal seepage of the water movement that can support the meet the irrigation requirement of the both the rows, and having a furrow here also that can act as a in situ water conservations and infiltration of more water into the soil, and that provides a space, so that the aerations for the crops, and through the better aerations that minimizes the pest and disease incidence, and moreover there is a better interception of solar radiations, and of course, this can provide a movement for the farmers can move in these furrows for any spraying operations or any intercultural operations, or fertilizer top dressing can be done so that the farmers can have a passage in this area. This can be changed for different type of crops. Suppose you have to take the cabbage or cauliflower. In that case also, the in case of the maize wider row crops, we have the spacing around 75 centimeter. If you go for the other crops like cabbage, this is the furrow, and here you can have the 4 rows of cabbage. The 4 plants can be here. The spacing between the each plant may be 50 centimeter. So, this spacing is 50 centimeter, and the here it may be 10 centimeter, and this side also 10 centimeter at the boundary side, and this for this may be 45 centimeter. So, total spacing here comes around 50 into 3. If you see from one furrow to another furrow, this distance, this from 50 into 3, 150 centimeter, and 10 centimeter both the sides, that is 20 centimeter, and the furrow width is 45 centimeter. So, and total comes 150, 20, 70 plus 45, that is a 215 centimeter from one furrow to another furrow. So, having the broad bed and the furrow systems, so that has a multiple advantage that can support the irrigations and that can support the water conservations and that can provide the better environments for the crops. And if you see that because the amount of land that is used for making furrows and because that gives the yield increment that can be compensated for the land loss. So, that is what the broad bed and furrow mostly technique this recommended for any type of farming, for either organic farming or even conventional farming, having these furrow systems that increases the growth and yield of the crops and provide besides the making other facilities for the irrigations and the water conservations. So, this is the planting technique for the organic farming. So, this broad bed and furrow can be followed in organic crop productions by which we can ensure a better yield and we can have a conservation of the natural resources. So, next come to nutrient management. So, after planting the crops, then I usually go for the nutrient management, because nutrient is essential for the crop growth and development. So, what is nutrient management? Nutrient management implies managing all nutrient sources, that is fertilizer, organic manures, waste materials, soil reserves, biological nitrogen fixation and biofertilizer in such a way that the yield is not jeopardized, yield is not lost. So, there is a improvement yield with a minimum loss of nutrient to the environments, so that you can ensure higher nutrient use efficiency. The basic the focus objectives of nutrient management to have a better yield and how you can use all possible sources of nutrition. You can see what is available in the soils as a native soil fertility, and from the source of mineralizations and source of organic manure, organic matter present in the soils, or the additions what you are applying the different sources, maybe the organic sources you are using biofertilizer, or maybe the fixations from the as a biological N fixations. Looking at this, we can make such a management that so there is less use of the external sources, at the same time yield is maintained or improved, better yield with minimum loss of nutrient to the environment, so that you can have a higher nutrient use efficiency. So, there are some criteria followed for the nutrient management, that is a Arnon criteria. In 1952, the Arnon, the scientist, he proposed the 3 criteria for the you can say what are the essential nutrients for the crop growth, which nutrients we can say highly essential elements means as required for the crop growth. So, criteria 1, say a deficiency of element in question results in failure to complete the life cycle of the crop. That means, so without the element the crop cannot complete its life cycle. That means, crop cannot perform its growth and development. In the absence of element, then that element is known as essential element. If such element is not present in the soils and without its presence, in absence the crop cannot complete its life cycle, then that element is known as the essential element. Second criteria, deficiency of element in question can be corrected by supplying particular element. That means, the deficiency are specific in action. That means, what we mean to say, so if the crop suffers from nitrogen deficiency, so this can be recovered, we can take the crop can recover from nitrogen deficiency by applying only and only nitrogen, not any other nutrient. That means, that says as deficiency are specific in questions. That means, the deficiency of one element cannot be replaced by other element, then that element is known as the essential element. And the third criteria, the element must extend its effect directly on growth and the metabolism of the crops, then you can say essential element. So, that is what. So, these are three criteria of essentiality, what you say the elements essential. So, if you see the plant nutritional compositions, if you see the contents of the plants, if a plant tissue, I could dry this, oven drying, this contains almost 60 to 90% water and rest is dry matter. And of the dry matter, the most important constituents you can see carbon is around 40% and oxygen is also equally 40%. Hydrogen is 10% or lower than 10% and rest is your inorganic elements, as you say essential elements, the less is around less than 10%. So, looking at this, what are the essential elements? If you see in the crop, for the crop growth and development, there are two type of nutrients, say macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients requirement is higher for the crops, the quantity is higher, we say as macronutrients. So, their requirement is concentration around 100 microgram per gram of dry matter. For micronutrient, if the content in the plant is either 100 or around less than 100 microgram per gram of dry matter, that is say as micronutrients. So, accordingly, we have these are the nutrients, the carbon, hydrogen and oxygens. So, the uptake by the crops, usually carbon, hydrogen, oxygen crop takes from the aerial atmospheres. So, take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and the hydrogen or the oxygen is supplied from the water or from the air in the soil. As you irrigate, the crop can take the hydrogen oxygens. So, we do not externally take care of the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen for the crop, so because they are the essential, the major constituent for the crop dry matter, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So, rest are which we do supply the management practices from the macronutrients or the micronutrients, the application is essential for better growth and development of the crops. So, these are listed under the macronutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, calcium, magnesium, sulfur. Their requirement is higher for the crop growth and development as compared to the micronutrients. They are the iron, manganese, zinc, copper, boron, molybdenum and chlorine. Usually, if you go for the growth and development, better biomass, higher biomass production, the macronutrients has a great roles for increasing the biomass of the crop or the growth of the crops or the yield of the crops like your nitrogen, phosphorus, potash or the calcium, magnesium and sulfur. But if you think of having the better quality, the good quality secondary metabolites formations, in that case the micronutrients play a major roles for enhancing the better quality of the crops, the iron, manganese, zinc, copper, boron, molybdenum, chlorine. So, so that means the essentiality of nutrients, the nutrients are needed for the crop growth and development and accordingly these are the nutrients and these are the forms. For nitrogen, the ionic form, the plant can take either the ammonium form or the nitrate form. For the phosphorus, mainly the monocalcium phosphate, that is your H2PO4, that is ion taken of the crop. For potash, similarly potash, calcium, magnesium, sulfur and the micronutrient, these are the ionic form which are preferred or which are usually crop taken ionic form. So, as you discussed earlier class also, whether you apply the chemical fertilizer or organic fertilizer, so those has to be converted to ionic form. In case of the organic fertilizers or chemical fertilizer, by hydrolysis, in case of urea, hydrolysis converted to ammonium form and the nitrate form, later nitrate form. In case of organic fertilizer, it goes under mineralizations. The organic matter has to be converted to aminizations, then ammonifications and finally, it is available for the crop plants. So, these are the forms of the nutrients and you can see what is the functions and deficiency symptoms of the nutrients in crop plants. So, you have listed the only the macronutrients nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, calcium, magnesium, sulfur. What are the function in crop plant and what are the deficiency symptoms? If you see the nitrogen, the component of many organic compounds, that is ranging from protein to nucleic acids, and this is an integral part of chlorophyll and associated with leaf greenness. So, leaf greenness and the protein and the nucleic acid formations and the chlorophyll contents that is influenced by the regulated by the nitrogen content in the crop plants. If there is deficient symptom, if there is less nitrogen in the soil, then there may be stunted growth, because nitrogen leads to the better growth of the crop, better biomass, higher biomass. So, deficiency of nitrogen, that may have the stunted growth, means the crop growth may not take place, and yellowing of flower leaves, because nitrogen is a mobile element in the plant. So, if there is any deficient symptoms, the nutrient present in the older leaves, they translocate to the younger leaves. So, usually the deficient symptom is first appears in the older leaves, like yellowing of leaves. Then this especially for the cereal crops, it can reduce the number of tiller formations, because when you go for fertilizer application, usually apply at the basal or the tillering. If you do not apply the fertilizer during the best time at the time of planting, or maybe 10 days 15 days after the planting, then there will be reduction in tiller formations. If the soil has N deficiency, nitrogen deficiency, the crop does not get sufficient amount of nitrogen. Similarly, if you see the phosphorus usually the function is the energy transfer and protein metabolism, that is regulated by the phosphorus, and this is associated with increased root growth and early maturity. Phosphorus that influence the root growth, better root growth happens if the soil has the required amount of phosphorus for the crops, then there is a proper and the root growth, and also the maturity also, there is a less phosphorus, it may regulate, it may affect the maturity of the crops. So, the deficient symptom, you see the phosphorus, this is also seen in the older leaves, and it is a new leaves that becomes the dark green due to deficiency of phosphorus, and poor root system and also stunted growth. So, like nitrogen, also phosphorus contributes to the growth of the crop, the biomass of the crops. If the soil has deficit phosphorus as per the need of the crop, then there will be poor growth or stunted growth of the crop. Potash, the function of potash, this potash is activator of many enzymes that say imparts disease resistance in cereals and also drought resistance in many crops. So, having potash, because enzymes they are responsible for the biochemical processes in the plants, so that they are activated with potash. And also this is a good thing potash, because having more potash in soil, the crop can escape the dry condition, the drought conditions can escape. And this is the function, and the deficient symptoms usually you see the marginal burning of the leaf tips, starting from the leaf tip, the burning of the leaves, that is due to the potash deficiency. Calcium usually responsible for the cell divisions, and if there is a deficiency of calcium, the deficiency appears in the growing tips and the tip of the plants, that is a growing point die and the curl, and new leaves become white if there is a deficiency in calcium in the soil. Magnesium, they like nitrogen, this is also component of chlorophyll, and if there is a deficiency of magnesium, then there will be intraveinal chlorosis that also appears in the older leaves, like nitrogen. Nitrogen, you have the full chlorosis of the leaves, but for magnesium, the difference in magnesium will have the veins remains greens, but the intraveinal area that become chlorosis. Also this one, the sulfur that is associated with the chlorophyll formations and the sulfur containing amino acids, and if there is a deficiency of sulfur, then there will be chlorosis of younger leaves. So, you can see this one, what are the symptoms of nutrient deficiency. Either this interveinal chlorosis, that is due to magnesium. If the magnesium deficiency there, the vein remains green, but the intervein areas become yellow or the white, then whitish color, that says as interveinal chlorosis, that is due to magnesium deficiency. But if you see the nitrogen deficiency, the whole part will become yellow. The entire leaf portion, including the vein and intervein area, that becomes yellow, that is due to nitrogen deficiency. And if you find some necrotic spots on the leaves, so this may be due to zinc deficiency, which is very common for necrotic spots you can have, and most probably zinc or the copper may have the necrotic spots on the leaves. And the tip burning at the tip or the starting from the tip, this is due to the potash deficiency. If there is a less in potash as per the requirement of the crops, so tip burn symptoms due to potash. And the chlorosis of veins, that is due to, of course, due to nitrogen, and also in deficiency the chlorosis of vein as well as the intervenal chlorosis. Then purple petioles. So, this is due to phosphorus deficiency. If there is a less phosphorus in soil, so that the leaf, the base of the leaf becomes the purple color. So, that is due to phosphorus deficiency. And if you see the appearance of the nutrient deficiency in different parts of the plant, if you see is a plant. So, is the older leaves, and if you go to the younger parts, usually the nitrogen, the yellowing of the leaves, entire leaves, nitrogen, the symptoms yellowing of entire leaves, and the phosphorus as a purple color in the leaves, and the magnesium, the veins remains green, but the intervenal area becomes yellow, and the potash, the marginal burning of the leaf tip. So, these 4 nutrient deficiency appear in the older leaves. They are quite mobile in the plants. So, deficiency symptom, if there is a deficiency in soil, so this deficiency appears in the older leaves like the nitrogen, phosphorus, potash and magnesium. And other nutrient deficiency, they appear in the either middle leaves or in the top leaves, like the zinc is necrotic spots appear in the middle leaves, or the molybdenum or the copper and the iron. Sulfur also, as you discussed sulfur, this is also chlorosis of the younger leaves. If the younger leaves becomes chlorotic, devoid of the chlorophyll, then that might be due to sulfur deficiency. And the growing points, if you see the growing points, there is a die of the growing points, they curl and die either due to calcium or maybe due to the boron deficiency. That happens, the tip of the plants, they become die. So, this is how you can visualize the deficiency symptoms in the crops and the different parts of the crop plants due to nutrient deficiency. There may be some symptoms, maybe physiological disease may be there, but looking at these crops and these symptoms, you can see whether it is a nutrient, and disease is different. If there is disease, so there is a different symptoms as compared to the nutrient, as you discussed the disease earlier. So, so purpose of for this lesson, that means the student you must be able to see what you mean by for the organic farming, how you can go for the land management, especially for the organic purpose, the bed technique, the field preparation. We must go for the conservation tillage, either stubble mulch tillage or the row zone tillage. That means the area where the crop has to be planted, only those areas has to be plowed, the rest area should be left as such without disturbing. And the broad bed and furrow systems, that should be done in case of the farming practices, so that it can have multiple advantages besides improving the crop yield. And if you go to nutrient management, especially you should be careful about the symptoms, deficient symptoms, what are the nutrients and what are the deficient symptoms, and then discuss how you can correct the deficient symptoms by supplying the required amount. That we will discuss in the next lecture. Okay. Thank you very much.